Hey everyone, I'm PC and I'm here today with some Microsoft Flight Simulator X or Microsoft Flight Simulator 10 and the beautiful A2A simulations Piper Cherokee 180. So as you guys can see, this isn't this isn't quite DCS, but this is, like I've said before, this is Microsoft Flight Simulator X or 10, and we are in the A2A simulations Piper Cherokee 180. This is the November 832 Papa Whiskey variant. It's gold red with the red seats um, inside. This is the way I've got my bird configured. We'll go over it here in a moment. But I thought this would just be a fun little tutorial on how to do a walk around the aircraft, how to do a pre-flight properly using the menus, checklist guides, all that stuff from A2A simulations themselves, using the in-game menus and things like that. I'm just going to walk you through how I do it. And how I'd recommend you do it as well, but you don't have to follow it. It's just kind of what I do. It's kind of a bit of a walkthrough, I guess you could say. But first thing let's do is jump back in. Now the first thing I want to do is go ahead and open our little port window here. Let's open up this door so we can get some air flowing through. Because with the A2A aircraft, this will fog up. All the windows will fog up if you leave the windows up with no air flowing through. But the first thing, if you don't know already, the shift button, the left shift button, will just kind of reload the aircraft, just kind of refresh the aircraft. It doesn't reload it in any type of state, it just kind of refreshes it. Shift 2, left shift 2 will bring up your pilot's notes, and it will tell you what the cabin temperature is, what the outside air temperature is, estimations of ground speed, endurance, range, fuel economy, your power and takeoff settings, and then your checklist, which I really love, and I use it a lot. So we'll get to that later, and possibly in separate videos on how to start the thing up. But then your shift 3 menus, here you go. Here is basically your controls menu. As you can see here, we can remove our tie downs, our wheel chocks. You can put sunglasses on, off, or auto. You can close the door and do different things if you need to. Let me close that, and then shift 4 brings up the weight and balance of the aircraft, your fluids, your gas, the pilot, and the oil. Shift 5 brings up the map. As you can see, we're at KFYV Fayetteville Executive in Arkansas. It's a bit of a unique airport. I just kind of chose it out of the blue. And then Shift 6 is your nav radio comms, which is just a repeater of your actual comms. It's a kind of a quick way to dial things in. Shift 7 will bring up your maintenance hangar. And as you can see here, we have Piper PA 180 Cherokee, and we have 4,174 hours on the airframe, 670 hours on the engine. And this is a carbureted, as you can see by the Lycoming 0360. In general condition, I've kept it in pretty good shape. If we check the engine, everything should be up to par. I won't do a compression shake since I've done that before, but I've changed the oil in it. I've also done I'll put new tires on it, and I've flown it around just a little bit, just to get myself used to it. But the main thing for this video is the Shift 8 menu, which is the pre-flight inspection menu. And we'll go through this and step by step how to go through all this here real shortly. Alright, so just quickly wanted to show you guys the A2A Simulations homepage for those of you who may not know what A2A Simulations is. In all my years of Flight Simulator, and I bought it when it came out, and now it is 2017, I have not come across a company who has a more detailed simulation of aircraft that they produce. That wasn't really well worded, but the amount of detail that they put into their aircraft I have not ever come across another company that has that amount of detail to it. So anyway, here we're on the Cherokee 180 for FSX. As you can see, it is $50, and it's every bit worth of that $50. I mean, that's just giving it away. But as you can see, this is the main page for it. I just wanted to show you guys what it is, and as well as here's your training manual that you can download. They also have support forums as well as this is their store page. But I just wanted to show you guys what they were about and what they do. As you can see, they have multiple other aircraft like the P-51, as well as the captain of the ship, Lockheed, is it Lockheed? I don't know, but it's the Constellation. You also have the T-6 Texan, which was released a little while ago, which is awesome. And also I've heard that the, where is it? Comanche 250 is a sweet, sweet bird. But anyway, that's just a little bit about A2A Simulations. They're a fantastic company. I just thought I'd show you what they're about, and you know, if you guys don't know of them, well, now you do. Alright, now that you've seen the A2A Simulations page and what they're all about and what this aircraft really is about, we're back here on our pre-flight inspection checklist. So our control wheel, or yeah, our control wheels, or these are also called yokes. You just want to release the control lock, which is the seat belt. You just click it, and then now your controls should be free. The yoke wasn't registering there, but now it is. They should just kind of fall back like that as long as you have your control set up correctly. We want to go ahead and turn on our master switch. Now I've got the well, it's the Satec Preflight switch panel, the old version of it, so it would be Logitech nowadays, I guess. But I'll go ahead and turn on my master switch, and this one requires 2 for this switch panel. Now you want to check your fuel quantities, so we'll zoom in, and you just want to make note of them. They're pretty much full. The left tank is a little bit lower than the right, so we'll make note of that. And then master switch back off, so we'll go ahead and just turn master switch back off. And then you want to make sure that your ignition or your key here is off as well. And you can obviously remove the yokes by just clicking on them, and then you can bring the yoke back by kind of clicking right near this autopilot panel, and it'll come back, as well as this one over here. And now flaps. We want to extend our flaps, so I have a button mapped to this. Now they're extended all the way up. It's this landing flaps lever here. You pull it towards you to extend them, and then push them down to retract them. So now we'll go to our next page here. You just press this button. So our right wing, you want to check for the security of the flap. So you just press and hold this. As you can see, it's fairly loose, but it's just remnants of a plane with a lot of hours on it. And then you want to press this one here, and now you can check your control surfaces and the connections to them. You want to make sure that you've got a bolt here, a through bolt here with a nut on it. You want this nut here as well with its little carter pin. A bolt here with a nut on it, and then a bolt here with a nut on it. Sometimes these bolts will be missing, and it can cause a flap jam. So now we can move on to our next station here. As you can see, these are little stations. You can click these and go back and forth, and you can skip around the airplane, but I don't really recommend that. I just recommend a regimen, I guess you could say. So for your right wing aileron, I just want to check the movement with my controls. So left, right, they should move just with my controls perfectly. And then we'll check the control surfaces. You want to make sure that this piano hinge bar here is connected and not missing. That this bolt here is through and it has its nut on the end. And then that this piano hinge bar here is in there as well, and that's not jammed. So now move on to our next station, which is just disconnect the tie down. And then what I like to do is just look around, make sure there's no huge chunks out of the wing or anything like that. And then we can reset the view there. And you can also replace the tie downs as well, which is I do a lot. I'll do this pre-flight inspection after I fly the aircraft, just to put this stuff back. And now we want to remove our wheel chocks, and you just want to look at the tire and make sure that it's inflated, and it is. And that none of the strut here, which I don't think I really have struts, I think these are solid, but nothing's deflated and nothing's damaged, is the main thing there. And now, if you see this little drain cock here, whatever you want to call it, you can just click this, and it basically, you would drain this in the real world, because this is the bottom of the fuel tank. The fuel tank is inside the wing, and this is the bottom of it, and you would release any of the fuel. You would release the fuel out of the bottom of it, excuse me. And then you just want to make sure that it's blue, because 100 low lead is blue. It is not clear, and that there's no water in it, so it looks good to me. So go on to our next station, which is our fuel tank. You press this little guy here under the actions menu, and as you can see, that's about reminiscent. It's a little bit slightly lower than what the gauge said, but not by much. It's pretty much full. Now we'll go on to our next menu here, and we'll check the oil. So we have slightly under 8 quarts, and it's brand new oil because I just changed it here. Oh, about a week or so ago. And as you can see here, this is just so useful, full of useful information. Note, change the oil every 25 hours or 4 months, whichever comes first. See, I hadn't flown this bird until last week for about 2 months, 2 or 3 months, so I went ahead and changed it just for the heck of it. And don't let your engine sit for a long period of time with dirty black oil, since acids form and internally corrode the engine, which is exactly why I changed that oil. Looks like, sounds like that guy there, guy and gal, are taking off. Anyway, so but yeah, as we walk around the aircraft, there will be useful information displayed within these menus as well. So now the next thing, we just want to check our nose gear, that this is the cowlings in place, that our strut here, now this is a strut, that this strut isn't deflated, and that our tire is inflated as well. The next thing we want to do is check our propeller. So make sure that there are not any chunks out of it, and there will be chunks if you can have chunks out of it, because I've seen them before on this aircraft. Just make sure that there are no chunks out of the propeller or anything like that, and then that the cowling looks in good shape, as well as your air inlet and your landing light and all that stuff. Next, you just want to make sure that there's no blockages in your cooling fins. You can press this to check it and clear it. I haven't come across any instance where something blocked in there, but I always tap that a few times. Now our next station is, if you see this drain cock here, it's the same deal. We're draining a point in the fuel line. It's a low point here as it comes into the engine. So we can click that and it'll drain it from there. As you can see, it's blue, so that indicates 100 low lead, and there's no water in it that I can see either. So now I'll move on to our next station, which is the left-hand fuel tank. And if you remember correctly from the fuel gauge, it displayed that it should have less than the right tank. And it honestly has about the same as the right tank. So as you can see, the fuel gauges aren't always particularly accurate on these aircraft, which is exactly the way A2A modeled it to be realistic. Now is our left fuel tank here. It's another drain cock. We can drain that. As you can see, it's blue, 100 low lead, no water. Next station, we'll remove this wheel chock, make sure our tire is inflated and there's no damage to any of the components. Next station is we want to remove our tie down, and we want to check our stall warning horn, which is this guy here. It's a little lever that goes up and down. Just want to make sure that that moves freely, and then like before, I like to check, make sure that on this leading edge of the wing there's nothing that has damaged it or anything like that. I'll check the windshield up there as well. I usually check that with the oil. The next thing is your pitot cover. You just want to remove that. And now, if it's a cold day, you want to go ahead and turn your battery master on and your pitot heat on, and you would press and hold this, and it would show up red. That way it would indicate that your pitot heat is working. But since it's so hot, it's about 75 or 80, we're not even going to need that today, because we won't be going up high in the atmosphere. But if you know that you are, definitely check that. Turn your battery master on, turn your pitot heat on, check, and it should go eventually to red, which indicates hot, and then you can turn that stuff off. And the next thing you want to do is just check for blockages. This is it doubles as a pitot tube and static port, so you just want to make sure none of that is blocked. And now we'll go to our next station, which is the left aileron. We'll go ahead and, sorry about that taskbar, make sure that it moves freely all the way up and down, and it does. It mimics our controls, and that this piano hinge bar is all the way through, bolt through with a nut, and the piano hinge is present as well. Now on to our next station. Okay, here at our next station, it's the same as the right side of the aircraft. You just want to check our wing flap. And as you can see, it's much faster and much tighter than the other one, but the other one didn't have any signs of damage, so it's okay. Now we'll check we have a bolt and a nut, bolt and a castle nut with a carter pin, bolt and a nut, and everything looks good. Next station, we want to remove our tie down from right here. Sorry about that taskbar. Right there, we want to remove that tie down. We want to check our piano hinges, make sure that they all have their rods going through them and none of them are jammed. They look fine. And then we want to check our linkages. So we should have a bolt and a nut and a bolt and a nut. Those are both present. And then we want to test our, I believe this is our trim tab. Yes. And make sure that it moves securely. And I always check the stabilator itself. Make sure that it's good. And then I'll even move the rudder with my rudder pedals just to make sure that that's working as well. Now on our next station, we check our baggage and make sure it's locked. And then our next station puts us back in the cockpit ready to go. And that is basically the essence of a pre-flight inspection. It's just making sure that the aircraft is in good shape and ready to fly. The only other things I usually do in the pre-flight inspection is I release the parking brake, so I can release the parking brake, and then if you press S, which just takes you outside to the other view, let me move my guy here, and then there we go. So we go into our lock spot view. It's the same as if you do Shift 8 and come outside and press A a few times. This will put us here. And then what I like to do is I like to do a pushback. So I'll do Shift P, right Shift P, and then I think he's already taken off. But I'll push the aircraft back a little bit. That way it gives us plenty of room to start up and turn around since we are on a ramp here. And then I'll do Shift P again and stop the aircraft. And then we'll reset my view. You can do Shift A, which will take you backwards into views. And there we go. That's basically the essence of a pre-flight inspection. Really, it's, like I said, just going over the aircraft, making sure it's ready to fly, going through the A2A pre-flight walkthrough, making sure everything that they have there is in order, and it really adds to the depth of the simulation, because this bird will age, things will come up that you need to address, and parts will wear out and fail over time. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Until next time, take it easy, and I'll catch you later. See ya.